I'm 23 years old. I just graduated from college and now work full time as a civil engineer in downtown Chicago. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I got here, what the money looks like, and whether I think this whole thing was worth it. So I hope you enjoy this Heartside Grand Champ 2 gameplay in the background. I've been trying to push out of it, but haven't had as much time on my hands lately. And yeah, we'll get right into it. So a little bit about me. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Um, and ended up graduating from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. And all throughout college, outside of, like the typical orgochem tutor or black pen, red pen sort of thing, I always used to watch these finance channels all throughout college and kind of wish that there was someone who kind of had a little bit more in tune with what they were doing, right as it was happening, not like what they would have done a couple years back or so. And so that's kind of my whole goal with this video is to kind of keep it as sort of a journal in terms of like my money, career, work, living in Chicago, etc. Not to be some guru or someone selling a course. I'm just, an average Joe like you trying to figure it out one day at a time. So yeah, so let's go back to how I ended up as a civil engineer. Growing up, I really loved Legos, and I remember as a kid, I would always build super random things with these Legos and submit them into a Lego magazine and try to get featured into it for each month. I never actually did end up getting featured, or maybe I did, and I just never got to that magazine or whatever. Um, but it was, I think, the real start to, my passion for engineering or for building things. And I think that was kind of how it all started. So yeah, I then went on to start taking some upper level math classes, and I started taking things such as like pre-engineering or CAD, and that was all super helpful. Um, and then that's what led me into getting into U of I for civil engineering. Now, I guess to kind of quickly pivot, I did end up going through a little bit of a stint with getting into U of I. I did get accepted through early admission, and then there were some things with my final grades for my second semester of senior year of high school, and so that ended up sort of rescinding my offer from U of I, and I had to go in there as undeclared and sort of claw my way back. So it definitely wasn't the easiest process, and it would have been a lot easier to just pick a different career. But I've been so passionate about this in such a young age that it felt like I would have given up, that little kid's dream of wanting to be in the Lego magazine, and would just be something I never got to getting into. So I kept pushing no matter what and ended up getting in. I think it was my sophomore year going into my junior year around like that summer or so. And so that was a really nice time. But being as I did have to transfer in, that meant that I had to take an extra semester, which luckily it was fine. My parents were helping me pay the tuition, so I didn't really have to worry about that. Same thing with housing, and so that was really nice of them. They kind of let me focus completely on school and let me do my own thing in terms of that. Um, so yeah, I'm really thankful to come out of school with not having any loans or have anything to pay back in terms of debt. And I did get some scholarships that I had at the beginning, but those only went so far and didn't completely do it. So a lot of it was out of pocket. So now also really important to mention that throughout this, they were pretty adamant in the fact that I needed to get an internship. So my freshman to sophomore year summer, I ended up working for a public works where I did a lot of sort of basic intern stuff where I'd go out and measure sidewalk or make sure that our subcontractors were doing the correct roads or the job was doing okay. Sophomore and junior year, I ended up working for a CQA firm, which is construction quality assurance. Basically, kind of similar to, I guess, what I did with the public works, where I'm making sure that the contractor or subcontractor is holding up their what they said that they would do, and making sure that if they were building a lake that the soil is compacted to what it needs to be, or making sure that all necessary precautions are sort of taken. I didn't actually end up liking either of those two internships that much, and so I decided to go back to what I originally started with, which was CAD, and that's where I found my current job, which I interned for first. And so this was a transportation job where I do a lot of CAD work for IDOT or a lot of other, bigger firms such as like AECOM or WSP, stuff like that. And I basically do a lot of traffic modeling or roadway modeling, things you like open roads or metro station, if you guys know what that is. And I ended up enjoying it a lot more. But with that being said, I was thankful to receive a return offer this past summer to come back with them full time. And I think another really important aspect that I was considering when accepting this offer was the salary was really great. I was, you know, fresh out of college making $83,000 a year, which is, above average for a civil engineer. I think the median was somewhere in the ballpark of like low to mid 70s or something like that. But even if it was, the low to mid 70s, the people that I was working with were just really nice and supportive, and they never made me like feel bad about asking a question or just simply not knowing what the answer was. And I think that's another big aspect of the job is everyone these days like, oh, you want the nice car, you want that nice apartment, or you want to take your girlfriend to a nice restaurant. And those things are all great and all in themselves. I would love to have a GT3 RS one day, but also if I'm going into the office and I hate everyone I work with and I have, an annoying boss, it's going to make it 10 times harder for me to keep showing up each and every single day and want to just, do something that I love doing for the past, 10 years or so. So I think that's a really important question when thinking about applying or even accepting a job offer. Um, but that we can go back to the money. So every month, get around what is it like 45 to $5,000 a month biweekly. I still live with my parents right now because it's very expensive to get an apartment, frankly. So I don't have to pay anything in rent, but I do commute, taking the train every single day into the city. So that's pretty much my only expense. So I just have parking and then my train pass. I do help out my parents with food and groceries where I can. And everything left over pretty much either gets invested or I go out to eat with it or, get some more gym supplements such as like pre-workout or whatever. But yeah, I try and take advantage of my 401k match. I'm not gonna get into all the specifics of, oh, you should do this before this or whatever. Like there's a million other videos you can watch. Like there's better resources than some 23-year-old yapping about his job right now. But yeah, I try to do my 401k match up until I reach that limit, and then I max out my Roth IRA, and from there I sort of deviate between an emergency fund or a brokerage account. One thing I think was also really important is that it is really nice to be able to treat yourself once in a while. Like you'll have a deadline and you kind of just get overwhelmed and you kind of get consumed in your work for a little bit. So, like go get that Chipotle bowl or go, to the bar with your friends and go have a couple drinks. Like it's important to not miss out on those things. Like I feel there's a lot of adults or boomers who are saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't eat out. Like it's such a waste," or blah 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 and all that stuff. And yes, you shouldn't eat out every single day, but you also shouldn't like if you're working, you shouldn't just be working to save your money. Like you want to enjoy it. I think it's important to have a short term and a long term plan. Like obviously, you do want some money left over. You don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck if possible, but you also should be able to, go eat out once a week, go get some sushi with your friends, or, go to the Field Museum. I just went to the Field Museum and I saw the Pokemon exhibit. That was super fun. It was a $20 add on, but, it was worth it. Like, $20 in 40 years could be, however much money, but there's no price on memories. And so I think it's just really important to reiterate that this money, yes, it will come and go, and you shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck, but also learn to enjoy stuff. Like, don't just continuously say no and save, save, save. Like, yes, you should be saving, but you should also enjoy yourself. You're only going to be this young once in your life, so go out and enjoy it. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of how I got here and everything like that. My normal days pretty much just consist of me doing a lot of CAD. I don't do a whole lot of site visits, but I just bounce back and forth between, my modeling or some spreadsheets, maybe attend some meetings and whatnot. I think a pretty big adjustment that you'll have is you can skip a class, but you can't skip a day of work. So right now we have interns in the office, and they're like, "Oh, do you ever miss like being a student or like being an intern?" And part of me does. It is really nice to be like, okay, this is the little 3 month side quest I get to go on, and then I get to go back to being a degenerate back at college and doing whatever I want. But this is it. This is kind of the rest of your life, and so there's this no more syllabus, no more semesters. It's just work. And so that's why I think it's important to think about those things like the people you work with or, going out to eat, treating yourself every once in a while. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, like, do you love it? And for me, yeah, I do. I really wouldn't change anything about it, both, how I got here, the fact that it took me an extra semester, or all the time that it took me to take those exams or retake some classes or whatever it was, and even doing those internships that I really didn't like, getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to have to be at a job site or to drive 3 hours away. It was annoying at the time, but looking back on it, at least I think it's important to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and they're both equally as valuable. And sometimes it's just a lesson that you have to learn at that point. So yeah, do I love it? Yes. And or do I regret getting this degree? Absolutely not. I think it has both like the benefits of, a really good job with great pay, but you also get to meet some nice people who aren't just like work, 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 work. Like, we go out, we get drinks, we just took the interns out for all you can eat sushi. And yeah, so that's pretty much the honest state of my life at 23. I hopefully in the next video I can talk about some more things that I wish I did in college, or if you guys have anything, you can feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.